Greetings, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of One Take. The management of doing is as important in many cases as the doing. I'll repeat that. The management of doing is as important in many cases as the doing. As a student of history, I greatly appreciate the story behind the story, meaning the story that gets the character or characters to the story that becomes historic or that they become famous for, because that's first one is where the lessons are. And I lightly quote Jim Collins from Good to Great, whereas the practice of engineering is constantly changing and evolving, the founding principles of physics remain relatively unchanged, meaning that founding principles and lessons are timeless. So, with that said, a quick story about one of my favorite historical figures, U.S. Grant. Yes, that one. When General Grant had to move his troops during the Civil War, and he did a lot, he was constantly in hostile territory, meaning he didn't have the comforts and the support of the North. He really didn't have the comforts and support of anything. So he had to constantly be thinking ahead of what his troops needed from a physical and emotional standpoint, what processes needed to be in place, what systems had to be in order, what needed to be done in order to get them battle ready to the battle and able to focus on the battle at that time and be effective. And in many cases, that determined what battles he was actually in, because we're talking about a lot of troops here, tens of thousands of people. That's scale at a very scale size, if you will. Now, we're not talking about basic supplies such as ammunition or weapons. That's a given. We're talking about food, water, shelter, talking about livestock, horses that moved everything around, and then the forage for those livestock and horses. And then it's not just about what, but it's about where to get it, how to get it where he needed it, and how much was needed. And if they were lucky to get some soft rations, things that were more emotional support items like coffee and sugar. Yes, we all know that coffee is a good motivator. Now, without that proper support, without that focus on the management of doing, no matter how great his troops looked on paper, they would have failed. Now, as mentioned, Grant supplied his troops with the tools that they needed, and not just the basic tools, ammunition, and weapon, and kicked them out into battle and said, good luck. He understood what was required on the front lines from a physical and emotional and a process standpoint, from systems. He also knew that the rear guard, the rear troops, if you will, had to be there, what they needed in order to keep everything moving forward, but also to support those that are out there on the front lines and doing. Leadership takes a systematic, deliberate, conscious approach to everything. It's creating the systems, the processes, and the tools that allow your teams the support they need to move forward and be successful in battle. It's not just about hiring the right people, creating leads, and giving them a desk or a computer or a phone to work from, which is basically your troops, your weapons, and your battle location. It requires the management of the doing. And if we focus on the management of the doing and not just the doing, we will be successful. If we forego that part, if we think that, hey, we'll just get them out there in a battle, we'll put some weapons in their hands, put some leads in their hands, and let them go forward and do their thing, no matter how great that army looked beforehand, no matter how much they should be successful, they are going to fail. It's the management of the doing that is as important as the doing itself. That's One Take. Make it a great day.